Welcome back to organ practice at St. Paul's. And this week I'm working on the Buxtehude Passacaglia in D minor. I wind up playing a lot of these Passacaglias and Chaconas and things like that for Lent because they're in a minor key and they have this sense of like you're progressing towards something. Now, the Buxtehude wrote three big, what we call ground bass pieces. They're basically forms that allow an organist to improvise a lot. And you can tell they came out of improvisation. In this case, the ground bass technique, the most famous one is one that goes back to the Renaissance, and it's just this bass line. With a chord progression like this. And the organist could just improvise over it whatever they wanted. Get the idea. And they were very popular in the Baroque era. And Richard Crocker, in his book History of Musical Style, points out that these three Buxtehude ground bass forms are unmatched for their time period in the way that he invents figurations and variations and little improvisations on the theme. But I think that the D minor one, Richard Crocker points out that the E minor one is really significant in this way, and that's true for keyboard figurations. But this D minor one is really interesting from a compositional point of view because you can see what kind of fecund mind Buxtehude had and how he was really pushing the form to its limits. So on this one, the pedal line that he's improvising over goes like this. That's it, okay? And we're going to improvise over it. So, for example, figuration number one. You get the idea. Here's another one. The idea. He comes up with a lot of different things, and if it were Pachelbel, he would just go through the entire piece like that. Since it's Buxtehude, you can tell he's experimenting because partway through he ends the variations in the minor key and he moves up to the relative major. So now we have our new theme sounds like this. We get the same set of variations, but this time it's in major. Idea. No one had thought of that. Now all of a sudden it's not a ground bass piece in the same way where the same theme is happening over and over. He's moved to the relative major, and a few pages after that he ends the major set of variations, and he goes like this. Get a new set of variations in A minor, the dominant key of the original D minor key, and then after he does a set of variations in A minor, we get this final little bit where he goes. Back in the original key of D minor, and he starts into triplets, and that's a writing tick of Buxtehude. If he goes into a triplet feel, you know we're coming up on the end of the piece. And it's really interesting in this one because he goes from the triplet feel back into a duple feel, or dividing into threes, dividing into twos, back and forth, back and forth. The idea to the very end of the piece. So he's taken this idea of repeating a bass pattern, but he's created a 4-part structure for the piece. And it's this sort of way that Buxtehude has of developing larger structures out of what he received from the tradition, out of the Froberger tradition that had been passed around Germany, that he created structures that really allowed for more complicated and longer music to be written in subsequent generations. Okay, so that's the Buxtehude Passacaglia in D minor.